Welcome to Larry's Library. This week I read Hawkeye by Matt Fraction and Jeff Lemire. Now, that's not a single book, and they didn't work on it together. What I have here and how I read this is in the form of the 3 oversized hardcovers that came out, let's see, back in 2013 and 2014 and 2016, I think are the dates these were published, if my notes are correct. But these books, of course, are out of print, but I got a good deal from the Comic Slayer on these, and so I bought them because I was anxious to read them. I was actually going to buy the upcoming omnibus that collects the Matt Fraction parts, but it does not have the Jeff Lemire section, which was in volume 3 of the oversized hardcovers. Kristen pointed that out to me, and she said, you really should buy these. And I'm like, if you sell them to me, I will buy them. So she did. She gave me a good deal on them. And so I took the omnibus off my buy list. Now, if you're having a hard time finding these oversized hardcovers, which you probably will be if you go after them, you can get that upcoming omnibus, which is a reprint of the original omnibus that collected the Matt Fraction Hawkeye run. But I don't think any of the Jeff Lemire content is included in there. Now, I did a little cursory search on in-stock trades and some other places, and I did not see the Jeff Lemire Hawkeye run collected anywhere. But I'm quite certain it was collected in other editions other than this oversized hardcover. I'm sure there's probably trades out there somewhere, and that might be a little cheaper route than looking for this oversized hardcover that I've got here. Now, like all Marvel oversized hardcovers that I own, these are pretty great build on them. I'll show some B-roll. Nice editions. Happy to have them in my collection. As I said, I think the upcoming omnibus reprint is just the first 2 volumes that I've got here. But let's get right into those. So volume 1, got my notes here. Volume 1, hardcover 1, is 272 pages. And it came out in 2015. And then, 2013. Volume 2 is 280 pages, and that one came out in 2015, so 2 years later. And then Volume 3 came out in 2016, and it's 248 pages, a little bit thinner than the other 2 volumes. This is written by Matt Fraction, and Volume 2 is also written by Matt Fraction. Now, the art on Volumes 1 and 2 is mostly David Aja, mostly. And therein kind of lies the problem for me, because I hate when they shift artists, especially when they're radically different styles, like you got here. Some of the fill-in artists, I'm not going to name them here, but I will show a scan of the index pages there, so you can check that out if you want to see exactly who's in there. I'll put that up here. But yeah, for me, of course, the standout parts of this, art-wise, are the David Aja stuff. The guy's phenomenal. I liked his Iron Fist run a lot, and I really liked what he did here. So Volume 1 and 2, they collect Hawkeye 1 through 22 and the annual 1, and it also reprints the Young Avengers Presents number 6, which is the Kate Bishop Hawkeye issue. And I didn't realize that Matt Fraction had written that. I mean, I'm sure I did, but I'd forgotten it. It's been quite a few years ago, that one. But yeah, he was writing Kate Bishop for a very long time. And no wonder it's so good. And the art on that Young Avengers is by Alan Davis, which is fantastic. It's too bad they couldn't have got Alan Davis to fill in for the non-David Aja issues here. That would have been fabulous. And I would have probably gave the first 2 books 10 out of 10 if that had happened. But alas, that did not happen. And we've got some art fill-ins here that just don't match up to the quality of David Aja, not at all. Now, I mean, some is better than others, but overall, it was a little bit of a letdown coming from the David Aja to these other artists that came in. But as you probably already know, even if you haven't read this material, because it's kind of a legendary run, the Matt Fraction Hawkeye run is fantastic. It really is. The only things I could possibly quibble about, if I want to quibble, and you know I'm going to quibble, is they sort of take Hawkeye, the Avenger, Clint Barton, the original Hawkeye, and they really sort of downplay his superhero-ness quite a lot in this book. They really make him more of a street level character, which, I mean, you could argue that he's always been a street level character because he doesn't have any actual powers. He just has awesome skill with his bow, and he's an awesome hand-to-hand fighter. And, you know, he's a great character. I've loved the character, you know, since I was a little kid. I've liked the Hawkeye character a lot. But I have to admit, before these runs, I don't think much character work had really been done with Clint Barton. Certainly not to the degree that Matt Fraction and Jeff Lemire do it in these 3 books. That's for sure. And that was pretty awesome. Now, I've always loved the Kate Bishop Hawkeye character. Ever since the original Young Avengers run, I thought she was fantastic. And she has just evolved and expanded on here. And the whole thing is very, very character-driven. You have a really cool dynamic between old Hawkeye and young Hawkeye, you know. Kate Bishop is hilarious. She's a great character, and I just had a hell of a good time reading this. A lot of fun, a lot of action, a lot of fun. I do wish Hawkeye would have been portrayed in a little bit more positive light. I mean, it's one thing to show someone's foibles, and then another thing where you feel like the writer's piling on a bit, you know. And I think that it was a little heavy-handed at times, showing how much of a scoundrel and how inept he could be at times. I think it went a little too far that direction for me. But overall, I really enjoyed it. And I'm not even going to talk about the plot much here because it'll just give stuff away. But yeah, I loved it a lot. I give the Matt Fraction part of this 3-book set, Volume 1 and 2. I give this whole, I give Volume 1 and Volume 2 8 out of 10, easily for me. It was a lot of fun. If the art had been all David Aja, this would probably be 10 out of 10 for me, easily. You know, no problem there. Now, Book 3, well, Book 3 is written by Jeff Lemire, and the art is by Ramon Perez. Now, I had never seen Ramon Perez's work before, not to my knowledge anyway, before reading this, and I'm going to get into that here in just a second, but I want to show you tell you what it collects here. This collects All New Hawkeye, the 2015 series, 1 through 5, and All New Hawkeye, the 2016 series, 1 through 6. Now, why did Marvel launch a title in 2015 called All New Hawkeye and then renumber it and relaunch it not even a year later? I don't know. You tell me if you know, because that seems really dumb. Kind of ludicrous to me, but who knows what is in their minds with these renumberings. But usually they're not that close together. They really are not. So that was weird. But this story in Volume 3, well, it's a great story, and it delves into both Clint Barton and Kate Bishop's backgrounds and kind of tells more of their origins, you know, from when they were much younger. It goes back to Clint Barton's days with the circus and the swordsman, the old Avengers villain, the swordsman. His association with him goes into some detail there that I don't think we've ever seen before. And I think it does it in a pretty respectful way that doesn't really violate the old-timer continuity that I know. At least I didn't pick up on anything that really violated. I think he did a really good job here. And you get to see some Kate Bishop background that we didn't know before either. I mean, we knew that her father, we find out in Volume 1 of this 3-volume series, that he is, I believe it was in that book, or maybe it was in 3. Well, it was in one of these 3 for sure. We find out that her father is not exactly a supervillain, but he certainly deals with a lot of supervillains, and he's a very sketchy criminal character. And we find out here that that is what drove her to become a superhero in her own right, was Hawkeye saving her from some supervillains her father was involved with the bow. And it's a very awesome scene. And it's done in flashback format. It's really well done. And my hat's off to Ramon Perez for his storytelling ability. It's very masterful how this is told. Unfortunately, I didn't like his art overall. I think the guy is a terrific artist, you can see, and his storytelling, like I said, is phenomenal. His layouts are great, but the criticism I would put on this is much of the art that's set in the present time in Book 3, it looks like layouts. It looks like rough layouts that aren't finished. It looks like someone was supposed to come in and finish it, and then they didn't, and they just inked over it and published it anyway. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. It's very, very sparse at times, and they almost look like they were small panels, like in an old comic, which would look fine in a tiny panel, but then they'll blow it up half a page wide often, and it just doesn't hold up. There's not enough detail in the art shown to display it at that level. I'm not sure I'm explaining that well, but hopefully you can tell in the scans I'm running. I mean, the guy's ability to tell a story is great, and at times there are individual panels here that look fantastic. But overall, I think it's just too loose. There's just not enough there. Now, I will say that the flashback sequences where he uses this awesome watercolor technique, it looks like watercolor to me, I think that's what it is. All of the flashback stuff he does here is beautiful, and it works really well. It has a very dreamlike, hazy memory to it, which is exactly what it's supposed to convey, and it does it well. It's beautiful work. But like I said, the stuff where it's set in the present, where it's not watercolored, it's penciled and inked, or at least maybe it's digital, I don't know, but it certainly has very dark lines, and sometimes they're very thick lines, and that is the problem. Sometimes there's just not enough background, there's just not enough on the page, in my opinion. Now, I said that, and I believe that, but at the same time, the story's told beautifully. I mean, I never didn't understand what was happening, so I guess it's just a personal preference for me with art. It just seemed like there should have been more detail there than there was. Now, I have since seen samples of Ramon Perez's work that he did years after this. I think it was some Avengers issues that I seen a couple samples from. I don't have the book, but I saw it online, and I thought it was awesome. It was some stuff with Thor in it, and it was really detailed. It had much more detail in it than what I've seen in this book. So overall, because of that very sparse look to the art, very unfinished look to it, I have to give this, I can't give it more than a 7 out of 10 for book 3. But it's definitely worth reading because it is a great story, and I thought Jeff Lemire did really well with it. But again, just like Volume 1 and 2 by Fraction, they're a little negative toward Clint Barton. I mean, the overall ending is pretty satisfying, and he has sort of a little redemption arc where some of the scoundrel in him is lessened somewhat. But I see Clint Barton as more of a noble hero than these writers did, for sure. I mean, I know he was a thief originally, but yeah, I think it was a little bit negative toward Clint Barton, a little too negative. But overall, it was still very fun, and I recommend them. They're worth digging up if you want to try to find these oversized hardcovers on the used market, because they are out of print. But anyway, so that's all I got this week. I hope you like taking a look at these. Come back for more. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.